Hey, what's going on, everybody? Hope we're all having a wonderful Thursday out there, and welcome back. We've got a lot to talk about in today's video, from some scattered snow showers today pretty far south to some potential ice going into this weekend for some folks, and we'll break all that down for you in today's video. Now, we also do have to discuss this long range pattern as really starting next week, going through the next week or two, we're going to likely have a lot of very close calls that should we get this moisture and cold air to connect, we very easily could see some winter weather for some big sections of the country. And again, I'll also break that down here towards the end of the video. Now, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely consider doing so. Like the video if you like it, and comment, let me know where you're watching from. The growth so far this month has been really impressive, and easily the best month my channel has ever had. So again, thank you all for continuing to come back and watching and liking and sharing the video, and all that you do. It really does mean the world to me, and just super blessed to end 2023 very strong, and I have a feeling 2024 is going to be just as exciting. Now, with all that said, let's go ahead and jump into that forecast. I don't want to keep you waiting too long here. Now, taking a look at our current infrared satellite, we do have this cutoff upper level low continuing to spin away over the central part of the country, and that is bringing some pretty big moisture flow here kind of on the outside of that low pressure. Now, the good news is, as this continues to shift off towards the east over the next couple of days, all of this plume of unsettled weather will shift with it. So things have already improved really starting yesterday, but I think through the next couple of days we'll continue to get better for much of the eastern half of the country. But again, before we get to that really nice weather, we do have to deal with some snow and ice, and we'll go ahead and break that down here in just a moment. All right, current advisories, watches, warnings, and radar imagery. We do have some winter weather advisories up here for sections of Iowa and Illinois, and honestly, those are likely to probably be expanded southward a little bit here into portions of Missouri and Kentucky before all is said and done. That is all thanks to this kind of big area of precipitation up here currently in Wisconsin and Michigan, likely falling as some snowflakes with maybe some rain mixed in as well today. But this big plume of moisture is slowly going to pivot around our upper level low southwards through Missouri, Kentucky, and eventually into the Tennessee area, where we could see some snow showers going into tomorrow and Saturday. Now, outside of there, we do still have some leftover rain into the northeast. Again, luckily that is slowly clearing out, and we should have a nicer day than yesterday, although still some scattered rain to worry about up in that part of the country. Alrighty, let's go ahead and time out the next couple of days for you as we're, kind of seeing where this rain and snow is going. Now, by the time we get this afternoon, again, still some scattered showers up into the northeast, so don't think that today's going to be perfect, but I do think a little less rainy than we saw yesterday, especially kind of down here into the mid-Atlantic, where we still had a pretty rainy conditions yesterday. Should really begin to improve today. Now, as we're going into this evening, by about the time the sun is setting, again, still dealing with scattered rain in the northeast, but here comes that plume of snow moving southward through much of Illinois, parts of Missouri, Indiana, and Iowa this evening. This very easily could quickly drop enough snow to accumulate on the ground, and I'll take a look at those totals here in just a moment. Now, going through the overnight tonight, we're going to have kind of a two-tone threat here. One, again, this kind of shield of light snow in a relatively scattered nature from kind of St. Louis through southern Illinois and Indiana. That will eventually cross the Ohio River there and get into Kentucky by the time we pass midnight. Now, also passing kind of the midnight hour, some of this rain we've been dealing with in the northeast is going to get enough cold air supplied to it that we're going to get some ice to break out overnight here into kind of north central Maine and even into sections of Canada here. And we're going to have to watch out for that. That could easily cause some very slick conditions by the time we're waking up tomorrow morning. And speaking of waking up tomorrow morning, about 8 a.m. here, again, that ice continuing in this corridor of Maine. Now, still just scattered rain south of there through New York State, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. But that is also going to change to some wintry precipitation here later on as we move these frames ahead. Now, also while we're dealing with that ice tomorrow morning up near Maine, look at these snow showers continuing to break out. I think much of Kentucky going to see some scattered snow showers and flurries tomorrow morning. Same story for Tennessee. Anywhere from Memphis all the way kind of towards the Cumberland Plateau, having the best shot at seeing that snow tomorrow morning. And that too could accumulate. Now, again, I think I'll show you in a second who's really going to see that accumulation, but this is going to be more of a novelty event for most folks. Likely not going to cause impacts of any kind of big degree here across the south, but definitely nice to see that transition towards more snowy weather compared to what has been a very overall warm December so far for most folks. All right, moving this a little bit further ahead into our Friday afternoon. At this point, again, still dealing with that ice falling up in Maine, and you hate to see it lasting for this long. And this is relatively light ice as well. And I know that sounds better than heavy ice, but unfortunately, ice actually accumulates much easier whenever it's falling at a slower pace compared to maybe a quicker pace. So hopefully this kind of transitions to snow a little sooner than some of these models are indicating. But either way, got to really watch out for those icy conditions tomorrow through much of Maine. Now, during the same time, those scattered snow showers and flurries are going to begin to die off a little bit here in the south, but again, still expecting some of those flurries to make it as far south as maybe northern Alabama, northern Georgia. I think not out of the question here for our Friday afternoon and evening. Now, as we go into Friday evening, this is when that cold air is really going to kind of begin to establish itself, and all of that ice that was falling in Maine and all of that rain that was snowing through, or excuse me, all that rain that was falling, not that rain that was snowing, all that rain that was falling through much of New York, Vermont, and New Hampshire is now transitioning to snowfall. So you'll notice here that blue taking over much of New York State through upstate New York into Vermont, New Hampshire, and now Maine. So this is kind of when that cold air really begins to establish itself overnight Friday, again getting that precip type transition from rain to snow or freezing rain to snow through much of the Northeast, and we could have a pretty, maybe not out of this park, or not out of this world, but a notable kind of lake effect snow event here going into our Saturday morning, as some of these flakes really kind of begin to take over through much of the Northeast, scattered in nature, but enough that, again, could be a bit of a novelty event and really kind of set the tone for what will likely be a cooler, stormier January. Again, really especially compared to this December, which was quite warm. And still also expecting some of those scattered flurries and snow showers to continue through the higher terrains of the southeast, and maybe even portions of Kentucky and Tennessee throughout the day Saturday as well. And then I think going into our Sunday, things really clear out and we have much nicer conditions until another storm is on the way for early next week, and then a bigger storm likely after that. And we'll discuss those here in just a moment. Alrighty. Now, snowfall totals here out of this, a couple places that I think are going to be big winners here. And I say big winners like this is a big storm. It's not, but compared to others, big winners at least. Kind of right here in this section through really the border of Missouri through much of Indiana and Illinois, or really just Illinois, southern Indiana maybe as well. But I think about an inch of snow for a lot of folks there. Isolated spots could get more than that, not out of the question. It just kind of depends where these showers kind of set up over some of the same areas. Another place that I think is going to get a little more lucky, higher terrains here of West Virginia, 1 to 3 inches of snow, not out of the question. And same thing for the highest northwestern facing peaks in North Carolina, 1 to 3 inches, but about an inch is a little more common there in some of those little lower elevation areas. Cumberland Plateau, again, another place I think that could get about an inch of snow out of this, as we have, again, some elevation kind of helping us out there. And now outside of there, if you're watching kind of here through much of the state of Kentucky, I think about a dusting to maybe half an inch of snow is going to be most likely scenario. Again, more of a novelty event than anything. And as for our folks down here kind of into eastern Tennessee, northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, and northern Georgia, I think you should see maybe at least some flurries fall, especially through northern Alabama and Mississippi there. But again, accumulation is just going to be really hard to come by. Ground's very warm and temperatures are going to be marginal, and these snowfall rates are not going to be out of this world. Now, moving up to the northeast, again, ice is a big concern of mine here through central Maine. I think 1/10 of an inch of ice is going to be pretty common here as I've watched the latest model trends here through kind of north central Maine. I know this map shows about 5/100ths to 1/10 of an inch of ice, but I think a lot of folks really are going to overperform, unfortunately, a little bit here in the ice department, and 1/10 of an inch is going to be quite common for a lot of folks there. All right, snowfall-wise in the Northeast, again, Maine going to be the biggest winner here through northern Maine. I think about 1 to 3 inches. I know this map says a little more than that, but I think 1 to 3 inches on the backside of that ice is going to be the most common that people see with isolated spots here. especially up into the northern parts of Maine, seeing 3 to 5 inches. And as for our friends kind of down here into New York State, the higher terrains of Vermont and New Hampshire, 1 to 3 inches of snow I think is quite likely as well, with those valleys getting about a dusting to an inch overall speaking. All right, that's this weekend snowstorm and kind of what we're dealing with here. Let's zoom out now towards kind of a nationwide view and take a look at what's on the horizon for our first week of January and even beyond that. And if you've been watching the past couple of videos, I've been talking about this pattern change going into January that is more supportive for wintry, colder conditions. Now, that is still on the table here, but we've still got to kind of figure out some things, and I'll kind of talk about that here in just a moment. All right, this is Saturday night going into Sunday. Here's that block of cold air kind of settling over the eastern half of the country, all thanks to that big upper level system that we've seen the past couple of days. But we'll look at kind of what's brewing behind it. Another area of blue, another trough kind of digging down south and east here. That works on in for the first couple days of 2024 here. And I think this could bring some snow, especially kind of up here into the Great Lakes. I think could see some snow as well as maybe the higher terrains of Appalachia from North Carolina down to West Virginia are the most likely to see snow out of this first system. Outside of there are some question marks. We could see some rain showers down into the southeast here. The models, unfortunately, we're kind of close to this event, but they're still really all over the place. Unfortunately for you snow lovers, outside of some of these higher terrains, it looks like we're going to be just too warm. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see some, 30-degree rain readings out here early next week through sections of the Carolinas, as potentially we do get enough moisture. Just unfortunately, that cold air not quite strong enough at this point in time. Now, that storm system kind of moves on through, once again cools us down, and then here comes more storm systems. For the middle of next week, here's another one over Texas, and then one I'm really watching is going to impact us later towards the end of next week. And you'll notice they're both setting up on the map here during the middle of next week, one likely over the southern part of the country, the other back near California entering the coastline there. Now, as that's happening, what I want you to notice is that this kind of troughing and this colder air up into Canada. This is trying to connect here. It's trying to get south. It's trying to link up to these storm systems. Right now, though, there's just a little too much space between them on our operational models, and they're not quite linking up. Now, by the time we get into next Thursday, again, I think another storm system likely somewhere over the southeast here. The real question mark is, do we have enough cold air here to kind of supply that and bring some snow? Right now, most of the operational models say not quite. Close, but not quite. That storm system moves on through, likely another cold rain, unfortunately. But here comes kind of a bigger one, I think, going right about the 7th or 8th of January. And again, I've been talking about the first 2 weeks of January, and this is right in the middle of that time period I've been discussing. And this one looks to have a little bit of a better supply of cold air. It might be a little more amped, meaning it's just a little more likely to produce lift and storm system as a whole. Here again, going about a week and some change from today, really about 10 days from now, I should say. And then after that, models continue to once again dump this cold air into the United States, although right now they're kind of dumping it a little bit further out west compared to the east. So we'll definitely watch those trends. Either way, right now the models have me confident we're going to see snow somewhere in the United States, and probably in a big way in the first 2 weeks of January. And that still very well could happen in the east. My thought hasn't changed really all that much here over the past couple of days. All right, so discussing those snowfall chances, our first set of snow chances, again with that next storm system early next week, some light snow chances kind of up here into the Great Lakes region as that rolls on through during really that Sunday night, Monday time frame. And then going into Monday and Tuesday, some chances for some snow showers here in the higher terrains of North Carolina and West Virginia, much like we're going to see here in the next couple of days. Now that storm moves out, and here comes the next one. You'll notice we do actually have some snow chances out here into Texas, maybe even northern Louisiana and New Mexico, where we have enough cold air. Right now, the models kind of show more of a rain-snow mix. Maybe not anything too out of this world, but watching that could be a bit of a festive scene for you folks down that way. And then that storm system, unfortunately, just struggles to tap into a lot of cold air here in the east. And really also struggles to amplify. So right now it shows to be a pretty weak, storm system. So we've kind of got the cold air in place here, but if we can't get the precipitation high enough or the cold air south enough, then we're just going to unfortunately be dealing with a light cold rain for folks kind of in this corridor on your map. And right now, that looks like the most likely scenario. But again, should things change, and they very often do change when we're talking about 7 to 10 days away, we could still see some snow out of that storm. Now that one moves away, and again, here comes the one I'm really watching. Right about the 7th of January here, a big area showing up for some snowfall potential here, and to be more than 10 days away, this is a pretty good signal to see, and models have been hinting at this one for a while. So again, I'm really watching this time frame, and luckily we've got plenty of time to monitor this. Again, about 10 days away before any impacts would be felt. All right, kind of showing you what this could look like in a precipitation map. Again, going into the first couple days of January, some snow moving through the Midwest here as we get kind of this clipper-like system. And as that's happening, bringing some cold air, again, you'll notice that brings some of those rain and snow showers. We could get some low pressure to develop, again, here along the southern half of the country from Alabama kind of through the Gulf Coast states. Again, we've got the cold air kind of in place here, and we've got the rain down here. They're just not quite linking up. So right now, the most likely scenario is just a cold rain here through much of the southeast, but a relatively light rain. Again, just don't have much lift there. That storm system, again, kind of moves on through and then kind of cranks up and develops offshore when it's too late to really provide any snow. But here comes another one going into the later parts of next week. And again, we've got the cold air just to the north here, and we've got the storm system just to the south. There's just, a little too much room. They left a little too much room for Jesus there in between, and we just don't get much to happen. And that one moves away. And then here comes that last one on our operational run. Again, about 10 days out, we've got more of a cold air supply. It's definitely more prevalent here, and here comes another storm system. Again, though, that's going to be a ways away. And we will definitely continue to watch those trends here as we end things out and get in those first 2 weeks of January. So again, to summarize, we do have snow on the way. I haven't been lying to you. Unfortunately, though, through those first 2 weeks of January, we have the pattern. We've just got to link something up. And my personal opinion is that we do. I think we link at least one or two of these events up, again, during those first 2 weeks. So I promise you I'm not throwing, big titles out there and fancy thumbnails to, throw you off guard. I'm giving you my honest opinion here. And again, we got plenty of time to work this through. So I wouldn't get too worried yet. And there's plenty of winter left for all of us snow lovers out there. With that said, though, again, I hope you have a great rest of your Thursday out there, and I'll see you all tomorrow.